I hope that everybody had a happy and safe Thanksgiving with your friends and family. I know that I did. One of the conversations that went on at the dinner table was my boyfriend and brother-in-law ended up quoting Mrs. Doubtfire together, and that obviously inclined me toward wanting to watch it again because it had been so long. And in watching Robin Williams on the screen, it intrigued me again to look into suicide and what exactly the church does teach about that. So in the Catechism, there's a section on suicide, which is between paragraphs 2280 and 2283. And basically, in that, it talks about how our lives are God given and we are stewards, not owners of the life. So it's not up to us to take that. However, there are situations where it says, due to like grave psychological disturbances, anguish, or grave fear of hardship, suffering, or torture, this can diminish the responsibility of the one committing suicide. However, in 2283 it says we should not despair of the eternal salvation of persons who have taken their own lives. By ways known to him alone, God can provide the opportunity for salutary repentance. The church prays for persons who have taken their own lives. So this comes down to the fact that only God can judge. There are very blatant situations of suicide where people, they'll like leave a note and do something harmful to themselves that causes themselves to die, which is murdering themselves. So it's not in accordance with the sixth commandment there. And or there can be a gradual death where somebody just simply does not take care of themselves, and but these two can be judged completely different because only God can tell what somebody's true intent is, what their true motive is, and different situations end up getting judged differently. I did a little bit of research online about it just due to the mental hardship and everything else. William Styron has a memoir out there where it's called Darkness Visible, and he talks about how he likes to reference it as melancholia, which obviously if you're melancholy, that's a very just kind of downtrodden, apathetic mindset. But the melancholia is how depression used to be referenced, and it's described as this thick black fog that descends on the mind and saps the body of all vitality. So within these depressive states that people get into, all of the statistics on like bipolar disorder, with the suicide rate being like 1 in 5 people that have it with type 2 or type 1. I don't know. I don't remember the differences between the two. But they end up having higher suicide rates than your standard person. So, and it ends up boiling down to only God knows where people are. And the awareness is what's crucial. I've obviously had ongoing issues since this past year when, everything went on. I spoke about it, I think, last week. And so, like, ever since the surgery and my brother passing away and just all of that happening, I've been in this downtrodden spot where everything has just been really difficult. And I am seeking help about it now. It's gotten to a point where it's like, okay, I need to go be evaluated and seen clinically to see what exactly is going on. But it's about that awareness. It's about knowing, okay, if something's wrong, we're held responsible for our own knowledge. We can't be held responsible for something that we're ignorant of. So if we're aware that something's going on and don't seek help, like if I were to not go and try to see somebody and I decided on a bad day that I was just like, screw it, I'm done, then I would be held accountable for that because I didn't seek the proper tools to utilize that I need in order to make sure that I live life abundantly and to the fullest, the way that God intended me to. I found this quote that was interesting by Charles Caleb Colton, who he himself actually ended up killing himself after a while. This is a sad post. But anyway, he said, "Suicide sometimes proceeds from cowardice, but not always, for cowardice sometimes prevents it, since as many live because they are afraid to die as die because they are afraid to live." So I just thought that was interesting. He got sick after a long period of time and then opted to not go through the procedure and died, essentially. So it's intriguing to look at everything though and just know that God does judge us all based on where we're going. I mean, suicide is not necessarily a completely mortal sin just because purgatory is in between there. If somebody knowingly and willingly and like in the depths of their heart does it as a scandal to be like an example to others, or does it out of spite or whatever else may be in their hearts, God's gonna judge them based off of that. But if somebody does it just completely out of despair and like hopelessness and absolutely no clue where to turn next, I mean, there's like psychosis that ends up that can cause people to do crazy things. So, it's good and it gives hope. It gives light to those that are suffering through this, and I pray that it's not something that all of us have to experience knowing somebody that goes through this, but the odds are that we will. So just know that we can pray for their souls and continue to be a standing block for those that do go through it as well, and continue to pray for all of those souls that are continuing that purification process. And God's right there, and we're right there with Him. So God bless you all this week. Sorry it was such a downer post, but it's a good topic to cover. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. I will see you again next Sunday.